You ever find yourself in one of those relationships where you know it's hurting you, right? It just drains your energy, makes you feel small, and yet you can't seem to leave. You've probably tried, you've promised yourself, this is it, this is the last time, but something just keeps pulling you back in. So let's get into it because the answer to why, well, it's probably not what you're expecting.
So, why do we stay in relationships that hurt us? I mean, that is the question, isn't it? It's so confusing, it's absolutely exhausting, and it really makes you question everything about yourself. You think, if this is so obviously bad for me, why is walking away so incredibly hard? Well, here's the thing, it's not about willpower. And honestly, it's not even really about the other person.
And this quote, this really hits the nail on the head. You are not trapped by the person. You are trapped by what this relationship makes you feel. See, the trap isn't the other person. It's the psychological bond they've managed to activate deep inside of you. It's this powerful, totally unconscious connection that literally changes how you see things, and it tricks you into accepting stuff you swore you never, ever would.
All right, so to really understand this bond, we have to go back. I mean, way back to the very beginning. The reason some people can just walk away from a toxic situation while others get completely stuck, it all comes down to how we first learned what love and affection are supposed to feel like. From the second we're born, our brains are basically wiring themselves up, creating what you could call a love map. This map gets drawn based on our earliest experiences, with our parents or caregivers. And that map becomes the blueprint, the pattern for what feels familiar, what feels safe, and yeah, what feels like home when we grow up and get into relationship. Okay, look at this comparison. It's really revealing. If your love map was built on secure love, consistent, safe, trustworthy stuff, then that's what you look for in a partner. But, and this is the key part, if your early experiences with affection were all over the place, totally unstable and unpredictable, well, a partner who is just stable and consistently loving can actually feel kind of boring. Or worse, you might not even trust it. It feels fake. Because your brain is wired to recognize that chaotic, unstable pattern as love. That's the blueprint it knows. So this early programming, this love map, it basically sets you up. It makes you vulnerable to a psychological mechanism that works, well, it works exactly like a powerful addiction. And that is the engine that keeps this whole toxic cycle going, making it feel like you're on a ride you just can't get off of. And here it is. This is the key concept, intermittent reinforcement. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It's a term from psychology, and it describes one of the most powerful ways to form a habit ever discovered. It's the exact same reason slot machines and gambling are so addictive, and it's the very same reason these relationships are so hard to quit. Think about this classic experiment by B.F. Skinner. He put a rat in a box with a lever. Now, if the rat got a food pellet every single time it pressed the lever, it would eventually get bored and wander off. But when the reward was random, sometimes it got food, most times it got nothing, the rat became completely obsessed. It would just press that lever endlessly, desperately hoping for that next little hit. And that brings us right back to you. The relationship is the lever. Look, if your partner was awful all the time, 100% of the time, leaving would actually be pretty easy. But they're not, are they? They give you these little, unpredictable moments of affection, of kindness, of hope. And that's what keeps you hooked. It keeps you pressing that lever, trying harder, being more patient, always chasing that next unpredictable reward.
And this is maybe the most damaging part of the whole cycle. Over time, it just completely wrecks your standards. You start seeing the absolute bare minimum, like a single kind word or just one evening without a fight, as this massive reward. Why? Because you've been so starved for it. You literally get conditioned to be grateful for crumbs.
Okay, so as if that addictive cycle wasn't enough, there's another layer to this. We're talking about weapons of manipulation. Now, these can be conscious or they can be totally unconscious, but either way, they are tactics designed to distort your reality, to create this fog of confusion where it becomes almost impossible to trust your own gut.
Just take a look at these phrases for a second. You're being too sensitive. I never said that. It's all in your head. Do any of those sound familiar? They all do the exact same thing. They take something you're rightly upset about and they flip it, turning it back on you like it's your fault. It is a classic manipulation move, and it's designed to make you question your own sanity. You know something is wrong, but you keep hearing over and over that the problem isn't them. The problem is you.
So, there's a name for this tactic. It's called gaslighting.
And its whole purpose is to systematically break down your trust in yourself. I mean, think about it. When you can no longer trust what you see and hear, when you actually start to believe that maybe you are too sensitive or you are just imagining things, you become way more dependent on your manipulator to define reality for you. It is an unbelievably effective tool for control. And then you've got projection. This one is wild. This is when they take all of their own bad behavior. Like maybe they're the ones who are dishonest or they have a temper and they accuse you of it. It's like they're offloading their own guilt and shame right onto your shoulders. And all of a sudden, you're the one on the defensive trying to explain yourself against these totally bizarre accusations, carrying the weight for something you didn't even do. So let's recap. You've got this addictive bond, and your reality is totally distorted. But what are the actual bars of the cage that keep you locked in? Well, it almost always boils down to two incredibly powerful illusions: a really deep-seated fear and an equally powerful but totally false hope. And these are the questions, right? The ones that just echo in your head late at night. But what if I never find anyone else? What if I leave and then they finally change? These are the twin thoughts that just paralyze you. The fear that you'll be alone, and that flicker of hope that if you just hang on a little longer, give a little more, things will finally get better. Let's just break those two things down for a second. That fear of loneliness, it's not just about being by yourself. It's actually emotional withdrawal. Your brain is literally addicted to the chaos of the dynamic. And that hope for change, that's just another addiction, an addiction to fantasy. You're in love with the potential of who they could be, a potential that has probably never, ever shown up consistently. You're clinging to words and promises while ignoring the reality of their actions. But look, knowing all this stuff, understanding the psychology, that's only half the battle. If you really truly want to break free, you can't just decide one day to walk away. It's not that simple. You have to actively break that emotional bond. You have to reprogram your mind, and you have to rebuild your identity. Basically, you need a full emotional detox. So what does that path look like? Okay, step one, a total break. And when I say no contact, I mean zero contact. No texts, no calls, no checking their social media, no let's just be friends, because any little bit of contact just feeds the addiction all over again. Step two, you have to get through the withdrawal. And I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna feel awful. It's gonna hurt, but you have to ride out that wave. And finally, step three, and this is the big one, you have to rebuild the person you were before all this. And really, this is the most important part of the work. These kinds of relationships, they erode who you are. You forget what you like, what you even believe in, what used to make you happy that had nothing to do with them. Healing is all about rediscovering that person. It's about asking, who was I before this? What parts of me did I abandon just to make this work? It's about finding your own voice again. Because at the end of the day, no one else can break this cycle for you. The choice has to be yours. And it's not really about leaving someone. It's about coming back home to yourself. It's that moment you finally stop accepting the crumbs and you realize you deserve the entire meal. And let me tell you, that is not an act of failure or loss. That is the ultimate act of self-love. And it's the first step toward your real freedom.